Hi, all. Welcome to this booking course. I'm so glad that you've decided to join me here and to walk through this journey with me. I really appreciate you entrusting me to doing this course. I know that you have put your time and your money into this, and I really value that. So we are going to get started today onto this journey, and it's going to be I think it's actually going to be a fun one because I really think with breaking down into certain steps that you're actually going to enjoy the process of it, because it's something that with the steps that I've created for you, you're going to be able to get through and you're going to do it, and you really are going to learn how to book like a boss. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen with you, and we're going to get started into this journey starting here. You've, of course, purchased the course, Getting the Gig, 4 Weeks to Book Like a Boss. I hope by the end of these 4 weeks, you are going to feel more like that. And we're going to cover a lot of things in these 4 weeks. So let's get started. First of all, I wanted to just kind of cover why you do need to book yourself and why we need to strategize. You're going to hear the word strategy actually quite a bit in this course. And I think it's really important to strategize. I also think it's important to be booking yourself rather than letting others book you. Now, you can let others book you. In fact, you could be doing this course and you could be booking yourself, and you could also be letting others book you as well. But I think you'd really want to know that they are in your court, that they are really for you. When I was in a band about 20 years ago, actually it's over 20 years ago, but I had hired somebody to kind of do some of the booking for us for a while. I had been doing it for a while myself, a couple of years, and the woman that I hired really kind of did squat, and she apologized later too, I remember, but I think part of it just was she wasn't really invested in our group. I'm not sure why she wasn't, but she wasn't. And that's the thing. And unless somebody is really invested in you or knows you really well, they're really not going to be in your court. And you know that you are. You want to get gigs. The other thing is that when you start building relationships, they're super important to maintain those gigs. You know, when you start building relationships, and if you're the one booking the gigs, you're going to be the one getting to know the person with whom that you're doing the bookings. You're the one calling or emailing. So you're the one in touch with the person that you're doing the booking with, and that's how you build those relationships. And we'll get more into that building relationships as we get further into this course. When you are playing, if you're just playing a specific place all the time, like let's just say that you maybe have booked a gig or you've been playing a place all the time, you're really not going to be exposed to as many new people. So if you think about that, how are you going to sell merchandise like to the same crowd? Think about Christmas, summer, holidays, etc. So I do know some artists that they get used to playing a certain spot. And I realize if it's a restaurant or something that you might get different people in every week. But honestly, if you're at just the same spot and you've got the same crowd coming, honestly, how can you sell your CDs to the same people? You really can't. And that's why it's really important to be strategic about the places that you're playing, especially if you think about too, like Christmas, you've got a Christmas CD. Well, even if you play the same Christmas shows every year, the same places, you're not going to be able to sell that CD every single year because you'll have sold it to those same people. Strategy compared to random gigs or no planning at all, which I've seen plenty of artists do that too. If you have strategy, you can get gigs that value you. You can get gigs that you enjoy, gigs that have longevity, gigs that can get you rebookings. And that's really important too, because you don't want to have to just keep going and going and always just trying to find new places and getting gigs. And you want gigs that are going to actually hire you back for the long run. That's why I say gigs that have longevity. and to have strategy towards that, you want to be able to plan for that. You don't want to have to put out so much energy all the time in just trying to go, where can I come up with the next gig? And I've seen artists struggle with that, and it's partly because there's no plan, there's no strategy. When you plan strategically, it allows you even to do tours. Some of you may only want to do singing part of the time of the year. It allows you to give yourself the option of a vacation. Wouldn't that be nice? You can do that. You can put it on your calendar. You can put it at a specific time of the year. And I think that's great. It basically, when you're planning strategically, you guys, it allows you to have control over your life, not someone else. It's going to put that control back in your hands. And that's really what being an entrepreneur is, or running your own business. And being musicians, we really are running our own business. It lets us, when we plan strategically, it lets us play places that also line up with our own musical vision and our genre. For example, it fits your style, your personal brand, like classic jazz at a classy place. Or maybe it's a little bit of whimsical folk, but you play at a whimsical cafe. So here's an example of just passive, like no planning at all or random, and then being assertive. Do you like my little green car? So if you think about like cars on a freeway, and man, I have seen this happen so often here in Minnesota. We have plenty of freeways around Minneapolis, St. Paul. And I'll be driving, and so like the right lane will be all clogged up. Like there's 3 lanes on the freeway, okay? And it's slow cars. Right lane's clogged up. 2 lanes, the other 2 lanes are flowing freely. But no one tries to go around the other slow cars. They just follow, which I don't get. But so where do they end up? They don't really get anywhere. Well, yeah, they get somewhere, but they just keep driving slowly. They don't really observe what's going on. They just kind of follow in that lane. And, you know, it's weird because they just follow, and then they just go where those cars are going. They never bother to go into maybe the middle lane or the left lane and go a little bit faster and then see where they could get going a little bit faster. And are you going to be that one that just kind of follows the musicians around you? Because there are plenty of musicians who are playing certain places. They might play all the same places, and they have no direction. They just kind of keep trying this, trying that, trying that. Are you going to be like that? Or are you going to take charge instead? Be the driver who goes in the left lane, makes the decision. Take initiative with your career and with your bookings. Gigs will not just come to you. Well, you know what? I'm actually quite certain that you want to be that, because otherwise you wouldn't be taking this course in the first place. You wouldn't have set your money down for this and made the decision to take this course. So I know that you have that within you. One thing I would tell you right away is, if you don't have this already, get a calendar. Either on your phone, online, or a physical calendar that you can plan out for a whole year. And I'm talking a whole year, you guys. It lets you see the big picture, and therefore that's how you can be strategic. And people who are successful, they plan ahead, always. And I know some of you are not planners. Some of you are like me, and we're kind of born natural planners. We just are. And some of you are not. Some of you, it's going to be harder. It's going to go against your grain a little bit. You're going to be frustrated maybe by it, like, I don't want to plan, or I don't know how to plan. But you know what? If you get a calendar already, it's going to help you plan, because it's going to lay out a direction for you. It's going to put that whole year in front of you, so it's going to help you plan. And I'm going to show you how to do that too, but you got to start planning. You can't just randomly go, oh, that's right, I got to get some gigs for next month or 2 months from now or next week. It's not going to happen for you. If that's how you've done your life before, you know, how's it working for you? That's how Dr. Phil always says, how's that working for you? It probably hasn't worked for you very well. Okay, so now we're going to start with something that I'm sure you're going to be like, come on, Tara, this has nothing to do with booking. Well, actually, this has a lot to do with booking. We're talking about knowing who you are as a musician. your skills, your history, your likes. And we're going to go through a lot of questions right now. And I'm going to actually give you a PDF form on this later that you'll be able to go through these questions again. But I just kind of want to talk about these because it's really to be strategic about even places where you want to play. You really need to think about who you are as a person and what would kind of be your ideal places to play at based upon who you are as a musician, a person, an entertainer. So, who are you? Are you a teacher? Some of us also teach besides playing. I'm one of those that I'm a vocal teacher, piano teacher, besides being an entertainer. But, teacher, entertainer, are you a singer, a songwriter, an accompanist? What kind of instrument or instruments do you play? Do you improvise? Do you play by notes? Do you read charts? What genre of music do you play? How would you describe this genre? And by the way, genres would be things like jazz, bluegrass, country, rock and roll, R&B. I mean, anything like that. That would be the genres of music. In what style do you do this genre? So that could be, maybe do you do kind of like, if you do jazz, you do kind of a smoky jazz. If you do bluegrass, is it something where it's kind of finger-picking bluegrass, or is it more, I don't know, toe-tap and moving? Is it slower? Is it with what kind of instruments? That it might dictate how your style is, or how do you sing that style? Might be how you sing the style of it. Let's see, are there artists from the past or today who might be in a similar genre or category? How do you define your voice? What qualities or characteristics do you think make your voice unique or different? By the way, if you're not a vocalist, if you're an instrumentalist and you're still booking, just think about the qualities or characteristics that make your instrument or how you play it unique or different, okay? Are there artists that you might sound similar to? Who have you listened to through the years that influenced your style? So just think about these. We're going to get some more questions, because all of this is really making up who you are, what defines you as this artist, because who you are as an artist is setting you apart. All of us are unique. We're all super unique, and there's a place for all of us in our music, okay? Are you a soloist? Are you part of a duo, a band? Maybe you do both too, by the way. You might even want to make a little statement about, okay, I'm a soloist, but maybe I'm part of a band or I'm part of a duo. Do you prefer small or large venues? This is a huge thing, because this is going to determine too what places that you're going to go after. Do you do better in intimate or bigger settings? Background music, like, would you prefer to be the background music, or do you like to be the main event? Or do you like to do a little bit of both? Do you like being part of other events going on? Do you like sharing the stage with other bands or musicians? Do you prefer indoor, outdoor events? Maybe you like a little bit of both there. Are you educating people with your show? Like, is it a historical thing, or do you talking about, are you focusing on a certain period of history, or maybe a past artist? Some people I know do like, I know a lady that does the Patsy Cline show. There's a lot of Elvis impersonators, but there's someone who was it? Someone I knew that was doing a Neil Diamond show recently. So again, you might even have certain shows that maybe you're doing a certain person or about their life. What age range is your concert for? I might even say, who do you think your concert, like what ages do you know your audience is? Some of you might know that already. I certainly do. Mine is like 40 and above. But some of you may not know that, and it's okay if you don't, because you might figure that out eventually. What's your favorite way to connect with an audience? What is it about singing or playing that makes you really enjoy it? What is it about singing or playing that makes you want to keep doing it? What is it about music that makes you want to perform for an audience instead of just singing at home? Because obviously, that's why you want to get gigs, right? Are you an introvert or an extrovert? And believe me, those things are going to make or break too where you're singing. I just realized something. This is so weird why I haven't realized this before, but there's a place that I've played, oh man, quite a few times with my duo that I'm a part of. And it's really crowded in the place, like the part where we play. And I just realized I can't stand playing in crowded places, like where we have to set up. It's just everything about it is crowded. And I play keyboards and sing, and my dual partner plays guitar, and it's just where we have to set up everything about it. It's like I feel like I'm just like walking around people, and I always feel like I'm gonna like hit somebody with something. And I can't stand being in really, really crowded situations. I don't know if it's because I'm claustrophobic or what, but it just made me realize again that it's like I really like space. So for me, that's not my optimum setting for a place to play. And it doesn't bother her one iota. That's the funny part. So all to say, I've just kind of realized that about myself. Now, to go on, after you're kind of going through those questions and spewing with them in your head, survey your friends and family and ask them how they might perceive you as I can't say it, a musician. Start defining yourself here, okay? What we're doing is we're creating an artist statement. You can do this by answering those questions that we just looked at and then putting it in a paragraph form. And this is so important, you guys, is creating this artist statement, because it's really putting an all-around definition that you can come back to time and again. And even later when you maybe are looking at some gig to take, you can kind of go, wait a minute, does this fit with who I am? And you can come back of like, yes, this is who I am. I like this. This is exactly would fit with the kind of person I am. And you don't even have to think twice about it. I know for myself that I've been asked sometimes to do certain gigs, and I just think, this doesn't fit at all who I am. Like, I think one time somebody asked me to do a gig, and they wanted it, oh, why can't I think of what it was? It was like a Mardi Gras celebration or something, and I don't have anything that fits into a Mardi Gras celebration of the music I do, the style. You know, I don't do like reggae or whatever, and it just didn't fit me. And I thought, well, no, I'm not going to do it because it didn't fit with me. The venue it was at didn't fit with me. And so I didn't say yes to that gig just because it really didn't fit me. And it's okay to say even no to things like that too. So, all right, we're going to go on. Whoops, I went too far. Let me go back. Jumped ahead. Okay, so here's an example of, this is not me, but this would be what someone put together as an artist statement. So they would say, here I am so-and-so. I am a singer-songwriter who plays guitar. I picked up the guitar as a child. I'm a solid, look, my thing is in the way. I picked up guitar as a child and am a solid player with chord progressions, but I don't use it to solo. I haven't had formal vocal training, but got my start singing in the church. My influences as a singer have been Carole King, Stevie Nicks, and Diana Krall, to name a few. My voice has been described as soulful, warm, and jazzy. People compare me to Julie London sometimes, or even Melody Gardot. I am comfortable in large or small settings, but I prefer to be the main event, where I can draw people in with singing and telling stories. I love seeing people dance, cry, smile, and be encouraged because they come to hear me sing. I can do solo gigs, but come alive joining up with other musicians to play music together. I absolutely love connecting with people during the concerts and in between, and find it a joy to be a musician. Summer gigs are especially fun, being out in the warm air. So this is really great because this person is just kind of telling a little bit about themselves, their influences, who they compare, but they're also talking about what kind of settings that they like to be in. You know, where they said comfortable in large or small settings, but they prefer to be the main event. So this person is definitely not going to want to be background music. They also said they do solo gigs, but they come alive joining up with other musicians. So my guess is probably a little more extroverted, probably someone that wants to connect with other people. So looking again for gigs and places that would help them to do that. And if you look at the influences too, Carole King, Stevie Nicks, 70s group. So my guess is the audience of the, you know, or age group even that they play to might be a little older. I would say probably not millennials, but who knows. It's important for us to define who we are so we know, again, what we're actually offering to the venues. Lets us define what types of venues may we want to shoot for as well. Helps us to clarify our best audience, the age range we're hoping to engage with, and the types of concerts and events that best fit our style of presentation. So I know I'm reiterating again, but you guys, that's why we want to create an artist statement. And after you do that, after you've sat down, taken the time to do that, it's really, of course, great to make sure that you have something online where eventually people can reach you. And this is all before you make those first calls and things for booking gigs to people. They also should have a sampling of what you sound like. So really, before you're even going to contact people, you kind of need to make sure that you've got some place where you're going to send them. Now, I'm assuming that a lot of you guys already have this or have these kinds of things, but if you don't have already a bio about yourself or an about statement, you certainly can start writing a bio or an about statement. You can take things from your artist statement. That's the great thing too. That artist statement is not meant to be your bio, but you can certainly grab things from that. If you don't have a website, I really encourage you to get a website up and running. I know they cost money. Most of them, though, don't cost a whole lot. I think I pay $10 a month to have my website up online. A lot of them don't really cost any more than that. Some cost less than that per month. And the thing about a website is anyone can access a website as long as you have internet. And that's what's great about them. I use WordPress. It's rather complicated, so in some ways I don't recommend it. But Bandzoogle I know is really user-friendly if you're trying to make one. I think my brother uses Bandzoogle, and for those of you that know Bree Noble, because I think a lot of you have had her input, she has very much recommended that one. Squarespace, I think, is another one that's pretty user-friendly. But if you know nothing about how to get a website up and running, there is a great place called Fiverr, fiverr.com. Spelled weird, I know, but you can get help from people for little or next to nothing. You can pay them $5, $10, $20 to help get a website up and running, and a whole lot of other services. It's really great. And if not, I said, ask a child or a friend's child for help. You guys, kids today know how to do everything with technology. You could probably have a middle school child help you get a website up and running. So if you have children, ask them. And if you don't, ask a friend's child. I'm serious. They are able to do so much. It's so great. So that's the first thing I would suggest. If you don't have a website, you really should. And then to be able to get music up on the website and things like that. But if you don't have a website, you don't want to pay for it, you don't want to go into that right away, the other thing you could do is get a Facebook page up and running. I'm assuming some of you have Facebook pages, and I'm talking about a biz page or a musician page, not just your private page that you have with friends. I'm actually going to show you how. I'm going to walk you through one of those, just like a beginning on a bonus video, so I can help you set it up if you've never done it, or just kind of show you a little bit about how to set it up. It's pretty user-friendly. The other great thing about a Facebook page is that you can actually just record a video and upload it to your Facebook page, and then you've also got a video of yourself singing, and then people have, right there, a way to see you sing and hear you sing. And it's got your about information. People can contact you there. The only thing that's not good about Facebook is simply that not everybody in the world is still on Facebook. There are some people not on Facebook. So for them to find you, it's possible that some people may not be able to find you on it, if they don't have an account with Facebook. The other thing would be LinkedIn. I know that might seem a little weird because not a lot of artists are on LinkedIn, but it's pretty user-friendly. I have a good friend of mine, well, not a good friend, he's more of an acquaintance, but a musician friend of mine who does a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. He advertises his events as you can use news articles. That's how he does it on LinkedIn. And the one thing I was thinking, if you do use LinkedIn, if you're interested in getting into corporate gigs, that would be a lot easier to find people in the corporate world and announce it there versus Facebook. It also looks a little bit more kosher on LinkedIn to do it through that. So I would suggest doing it that way if that's kind of where your goal is to do that. Make sure you have an email address. I'm sure most of you do, but just in case you don't, and a phone number that you're giving out to people, because people still do like to contact through the phone. If you don't have business cards, you need to have business cards. I know it seems old school, but I'll tell you what, I still hand business cards out all the time at gigs. I can't tell you how many times I hand them out, and I have gotten gigs through business cards. You can get them on Vistaprint. It's a great place. There's a ton of places online that Facebook, you'll probably see ads on Facebook for doing business cards from a whole lot of sites. Canva.com is great for designing them if you need to. And then, of course, where you have your music, you guys probably know that better even than me, but Spotify, CD Baby, iTunes, which you can get your stuff on iTunes through TuneCore, and then SoundCloud, YouTube. I know a lot of you guys have videos already up on YouTube, so I'm just saying you got to have the stuff up and ready to go so that when you start calling places, they're going to ask, well, where can I find you? How can I listen to you? Because those questions will come up. And if you don't have the stuff at least somewhere ready to go, you need to have it somewhere, okay? Now I want to get into this whole list of where we can find gigs. And, so now you've done this artist statement, you know who you are, and now it's like, okay, so where do I find these gigs? Because I think a lot of you have been really frustrated where you feel like there's nowhere to find them. Well, there's a lot of places. And this list that I've created, it continues to grow and will probably continue to grow as I continue to find more myself. But, and I'm going to give you this in a PDF form as well. But this, we're just going to kind of go through and try to tweak, well, just not tweak your mind, but we're going to go through and try to give you some ideas. And I need some water, so excuse me just a moment. This, looking at this, you might either feel overwhelmed or go, wow, I didn't know this many existed. These are types of places, obviously, that you can find places to sing. Have I sung at every single one of these? No, but I've sung at a lot of these types of places. What I want you to do is, when you look through this, I want you to be strategic about thinking of your artist statement and then thinking about these types of places. What would fit you? What do you think of these places would be a matchup with the type of music that you do? First of all, these parks at the top where it says the Summer Concert Series, where I live in Minnesota, and I'm sure this is true a lot of places because I've done some research in other states too, but I have right here in Minneapolis, St. Paul, every one of our suburbs has these park summer concert series. And so each suburb has, like, every single week they have summer concert series. So I think there's, like, I don't know, 20, 30 suburbs here. Each one of them has weekly summer concert series. So if you even booked in every suburb, you'd have like 20 to 30 concerts just in the summer. They have county fairs in Minnesota all over. Every county has its fair. And those are places where people can sing at. And that might be something that's more geared towards like bands to play, or maybe a duo or something, but not necessarily. I guess it just depends what county you would be in. Then every suburb, and this could be true of small towns too. I know some of the bigger towns have their summer days where they have special events, but like just where I live in Chaska, we had not one, but two special like days of summer where one was called like the Riverboat Days. And then another one, I don't even remember the title of it, but there were like 2 different weekends where they had these special days of summer, and they had bands and musicians playing both those different weekends. This was just in my suburb. Every other suburb had their own days, like Hopkins, another suburb, had Raspberry Days, and St. Paul had the Grand Old Days. And there was another suburb that had some other old days. every one of those celebrations had their own musicians come in and play during those days, and they usually would be over a course of like 3 days. So there'd maybe be 10 different musicians or musical groups playing during those suburban days. There are 4th of July celebrations. There are casinos. If you live near casinos, they hire in musicians. There are riverboat tours and lake boat tours. And lakes, I mean like when you have bigger lakes, like we have a big lake, Lake Minnetonka, but then there are like the huge lakes, like we have Lake Superior in Minnesota. So up near Duluth, they have these boat tours. Musicians play on those boat tours. If you live in other parts of the country where there are the other 4 Great Lakes, there are lake boat tours. My guess is anybody near rivers have boat tours, and then if you live by the ocean, I would guess there are probably boat tours that also have musicians playing on them. Oh yeah, I said ocean boat tours, yep. Also, if you, just gonna jump around a little bit, but like camps, church retreats, if you jump down to way at the bottom on the left side, MOPS, which is Mothers of Preschoolers, festivals, Christian or secular, if you're talking about Christian music and you need places to play, those would be definitely places that you could check into. And there's other places like Christian women's clubs too. I'm going to jump back up. There's country clubs, golf clubs, wineries, women's clubs, book clubs, Rotary clubs, Chamber of Commerce, wine tasting clubs, apple orchards. If you are geared towards kids, you need kid shows. Kids are always hanging out at apple orchards. Also, I'm going to jump up to libraries if you want kids, or private schools. So again, if you're geared towards kids, those are things you might want to hone in on, okay? I'm going to jump back down. Hotels. Sometimes the restaurant in these nice hotels, I play at one. In fact, I'm playing soon at one again. My brother played at a really posh hotel for about 9 years. Art fairs and shows. They happen all summer long too, all over. Art galleries. That might be geared more towards classical music. I've seen string quartets that play in art galleries. Jumping to the next column, down to cruises. You know, there are musicians that play on cruises all the time. Don't knock it, because they have steady ongoing jobs. Farmers markets happen all summer long, and in some cases where they have little warmer climates, they even go most of the year. VFWs, auxiliary clubs, sometimes those actually do even well with some of the more historical shows, just like the libraries do too. Sporting events, and I'm talking sporting events like these super huge things that come into town. I cannot believe I missed this. We had the Ryder Cup, which is an international golf thing, right here in my suburb last year, and I didn't know about it until about 2 months before the event happened. So I didn't even really get in on all the extracurricular events that happened, such as entertainment. The Super Bowl is coming to Minnesota in 2018. And by the time you guys see this, it will have already happened. But if you guys have major sporting events that happen, whether it's basketball, baseball, football, hockey, whatever, if it comes to your city, man, there's so many extra events that happen where there's music at. You got to get in on those things, especially if you're a band or you know, even a duo or something. Speakeasies, those have come back into existence. Zoos have music a lot of times. Expos happen at these convention centers like bridal fairs or bridal expos, home and garden. There's so many to pick from, and sometimes they don't always pay, but if you get exposure at those places, you might be able to hand out business cards and things. And if, like at a bridal fair, if you sing, who knows how many weddings you might get out of that. Rodeos would be another one that they actually have live music at. Believe it or not, malls, banks, during like the holiday season of like Christmas, they hire a lot of musicians. Or even if they don't hire musicians, it might be a really great place, again, to get a lot of exposure, and you might sell CDs. Just think about it. Senior places, independent living, assisted living, memory care. I make a ton of money off of playing those places because they're so prevalent all over. We have such an aging population. They're wonderful audiences to play for, and they're daytime gigs. Corporate events, house concerts, some of you have already tapped into that. They're very intimate settings. They're great. Breweries and tap rooms, they are popping up all over the U.S. right now. In Minneapolis alone, we have 42 of them. I can't even believe that, but it's true. Coffee shops, of course, restaurants, those are kind of typical ones. If you've ever thought of antique car shows, maybe you haven't, but they are happening kind of all over. Any kind of car shows, actually. And then tea rooms, like high teas. These are just all things really to think of and keep in mind. And what you can do is you can Google or use like another search engine to find these things. And what you kind of want to do, and I'm going to walk you through an example, but you basically want to just find out if the venue or the place that you're looking at, you want to find out if they have live music with the event or at the place. And if you don't want to do it, if you feel weird about calling because maybe you're going to actually call later to actually, try to book something, have a friend or family member first call for you just to find out if they have live music. And then basically, if you find out they have live music, you want to find out who the person is who's in charge of, depending what you're calling, what type of venue or place, who's in charge of the entertainment or who's in charge of coordinating the event, or the owner of the place, or the president of a club, or the one in charge of activities, or the person responsible for recreational or events that include entertainment. So again, just depending what you're calling, this is where you want to find out one of those things. So I'm going to walk us through here. So let me just get to another page, and I'm going to share a different screen with you guys. I'm going to go to Google here and walk us through this. So I'm going to type in here. I'm actually just going to type in wineries in Door County. Look, Door County, Wisconsin. See what comes up. And it's giving me a map there, so I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Okay, so it says Wine and Wineries Dine, Door County Visitor Bureau. Let's just go there. And so as I scroll down here, I'm just going to go here. And this is beautiful. Look at, they're showing us, it says 9 results here. And so Simon Creek Vineyard and Winery, Stones Throw Winery, Door 44 Winery. So we've got all these wineries they're showing us. What we want to do, we want to visit a winery. You know what? I'm just going to pick one of these and go to the website, because what we want to find out is, first of all, do they have live music? And I love this because they're showing us like an email. They've got phone numbers here. So this is actually a great website because they're giving us quite a few wineries with all the phone numbers and everything. But I want to see if they have live music. So I'm going to visit the website. And let's see. Well, let's look up at events, because that might tell us if they have live music. Now, okay, this is a past event. This was in September of 2017, a Grape Stomp, but I'm just looking through here. Look at this. If you can see where I'm kind of pointing down here, it says live music performance by Slide. So we know that they had live music. So I'm just going to go back here. Since we know that, this was at this Door 44 winery. We know that they had live music. So potentially this would be a place that we would call later on when we decide to actually call places. So that's kind of what you do. You just Google, you can type in, and I'm going to stop this for a minute, and I want to go back. This is fun. I want to go back to here. So you just want to type in something, whether it's wineries or maybe you type in, Chamber of Commerce. Wherever you are, you're going to type in that place and just see what you come up with to see which, you know, venues that it brings up for you. And then you are trying to find, like we said, first of all, if they have live music. And then you would, like in that place, if I went back to that winery, that Door 44, I would just try to see who is the actual person who's in charge of like booking that music, because we saw that they had live music. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. The other thing I just wanted to put on here for you is that there are other places that can help you do booking. I know we're talking about doing the booking ourselves, but in case you want some extra help, as well as you doing your own, those are places that help you. Sonic Bids, I can't talk today. Gigworld.com, Gigtown, Hypebot.com, Reverb Nation. I'm sure some of you heard those. Other ideas for doing concerts, you could certainly do a concert on social media like Facebook Live. I suppose you could put something on YouTube too if you wanted to. The other thing you could do is consider sharing a gig with another musician until you are more well known. That's a possibility. It might help you get some more gigs. And I will say this, if you're a newer band or a solo artist, book places where you don't have to bring in an audience. And that's so you can build one. Guaranteed audiences are what you want at first. And places like events where something's already going on, like a farmer's market or an art fair, where there's already people there that you aren't having to bring them in, those are great places to be playing. So you don't want to have to be where you're playing at a restaurant where the guy says, look, if you bring in this many people, then we'll pay you. That's not the kind of gigs you want to get at first. Get the kind of gigs, book at first where there's already people there, or at least that it's not dependent, like you're going to get paid anyway, you know, whether or not you bring people in. So that's the key for you to book at first. So your homework for this week is you need to finish that artist statement and write it up. Take some time for that. You need to find 5 of those venue types. I had over 30 there. And so remember your artist statement. As you're looking through that, think about the things that might fit you first. Find 5 places from each venue type, and then research those 25 places, or sorry, so find 5 places from each of those venue types, okay? So you find 5 venue types and find 5, so like, okay, so we saw those wineries. So you could pick 5, once you picked, like that would be a venue type, and then you could pick 5 places from those wineries. And then research those 25 places to find contact information on a person who you would contact. You don't need to contact anybody, but just research. So you are going to have 25 places potentially that you can contact. And I know that seems like a lot of work for the first week, but it's really so that we can get you going eventually, okay? And then give yourself a pat on the back for your awesome work, because this is a lot of work for the first week, but you're setting the foundation for being really strategic about how you're going to be booking. And I guarantee you that it's going to, if you take the time to do this now, even those 25 places, you are going to be on your way, and you're going to be so encouraged because you're going to find the places that you really want to play. And you're going to be armed and ready to go after those places. So you can do this. This is going to be so awesome, and I just encourage you. And you know what? Get out there and do it, and we'll be back here for another week next week, okay? Have a great week. You guys, bye.